Hello, good afternoon, and warm welcome to Joy Newsroom with me, Pious, Kojo. Backah. Coming up in our headlines, Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Esiedun-Ketia, describes the NDC's policies going into the 2024 election as superior to that of the NPP.
So if you are implementing 24-hour economy and some of the huge energy consumers like the steel mills that use a lot of electricity, you encourage them to be working during the off-peak periods.
Yeah. By
giving them cheap power, which could have gone waste anyway.
Anyway, yeah.
You are introducing efficiency into the utilization of your energy resources and so on.
We have details as he calls on Ghanaians to embrace its candidate's 24-hour economy proposal. Also in this bulletin, Speaker of Parliament begins crackdown on lateness by MPs to parliamentary sittings, vowing to lock doors of the chamber at 10 a.m.
Nowhere in any parliament in the world will the Speaker always go and sit and wait for members of Parliament to come in. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. At 10 a.m., which you say 10 in the phone, the doors will be locked.
Plus, Deputy Majority Leader and MP for Ifutu asks constituents to stand by him against claims he has masterminded the sale of forest lands in the constituency for mining. We have details of these plus many others lined up for you. Please stay. We are your home of independent, fearless, and credible journalism. Let's now settle for the details. And Chairman of the National Democratic Congress, Johnson Esiedun-Ketia, has described the NDC's policies going into the 2024 elections as superior to that of the NPP. Johnson Esiedun-Ketia explained why every Ghanaian must buy into his proposed 24-hour economy. Says it will put the country at par with its compatriots as well as boost industries, which will in turn transform the economy. He was speaking in a yet-to-be-aired interview on PM Personality Profile.
Our opponents are just blowing hot air because that policy appears to have taken them by storm, and so their reaction suggests that they are this. This is not a complicated policy to adopt or implement at all. See, industries in Europe and many other places operate 24 hours.
True.
And we are operating 8 hours. And we are supposed to produce things and compete with somebody who is utilizing his infrastructure, everything, for 24 hours.
Yeah.
So there is, from the beginning, a disconnect that makes us uncompetitive. If we just look at the surface like that, you understand. So what we are saying is that there is already some infrastructure that is being underutilized or badly utilized. Let's take our energy infrastructure, for instance. You see that Ghana is one place where you have so much variance between low period of energy consumption and peak period of energy consumption within any day. There are times when there is peak period. Let's, for the purpose of argument, take maybe a scale of 0 to 100. There are times you see that energy consumption in some parts of the day may come to 10%. There are other times, peak periods, when you see that the energy consumption has shot up to 90%. So that variation exists in how we consume our electricity. Now, if you get into another economy where they are running 24-hour shift, you see that this variation has been evened out. So instead of maybe varying from 10% to 90%, you have a variation of around 50%. So it may come down to 40, it may go down to 60.
Yep.
And then that is how the electricity will be consumed. Now take these two scenarios and see how much it costs to fix the infrastructure for electricity distribution. You want 24-hour supply of electricity, so you don't want a scenario where during the peak period there is overload and your system will shut down.
Shut down, yeah.
Okay. So in laying the infrastructure, you must lay it in such a way that it can capture the peak period and you will still have no problems. So from that standpoint alone, if you are able, as a matter of policy, to encourage some of the consumers to offload their consumption during peak period to the low period of 10, and you are able to push that one up, you bring down the peak numbers, and then you better have better advantages and better utilization of your facility. So if you are implementing 24-hour economy and some of the huge energy consumers like the steel mills that use a lot of electricity, we encourage them to be the cement factories and other things. You encourage them to be working during the off-peak periods. Then they will utilize more of the energy which otherwise you will not be utilizing. So it makes good sense to even reduce the tariffs for them, because it inures to the benefits of the whole economy. It inures to the benefits of the power sector and so on. So by giving them cheap power, which could have gone waste anyway, you are introducing efficiency into the utilization of your energy resources and so on.
Meanwhile, National Vice Chairman of the NDC, Professor Joshua Alabi, has been reiterating former President John Dramani Mahama's proposal of the 24-hour economy to Ghanaians, adding, should the NDC be given the nod, Mr. Dramani Mahama will use the 24-hour economy to address the unemployment challenges that youth in the country are facing. He explains the 24-hour economy will not be about one man working for 24 hours, but a shift system that will foster economic opportunities in areas including agro-processing, pharmaceutical, the manufacturing and construction sectors. Professor Joshua Alabi spoke on behalf of former President John Dramani Mahama at the 60th anniversary of the St. Francis Xavier Junior Seminary in Wa. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
The 60th anniversary of the St. Francis Xavier Junior Seminary was held on the theme Xavier at 60, the role of stakeholders in keeping the light of excellence shining. Vice Chairman and 2020 Campaign Manager of the National Democratic Congress, Professor Joshua Alabi, reading a speech on behalf of former President John Dramani Mahama, commended the Catholic Church for the establishment of the St. Francis Xavier Junior Seminary, which has produced major personalities working in various spheres of the country's development. He then talked about his focus for the youth aimed at addressing the unemployment challenges, what is much touted 24-hour economy.
Very soon, you will be completing and you'll be entering into the world of work, where it is believed the young ones don't have hope. And you cannot put the blame anywhere, but you put the blame on the politicians. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama on his part will be focusing more on the youth and aims to address the unemployment problem through the 24-hour economy. So I assure you, there is hope. The 24-hour economy is not about one man working for 24 hours. It is an economic model fostering productivity and creating job opportunities in areas like agro-processing, pharmaceuticals, manufacturing, construction, sanitation, waste management, extractive industry, among a few. It is a system where there will be 3 shifts of 8 hours. So that is going to create productivity and is going to create employment for the youth.
Our Power Regional Minister, Dr. Hafiz bin Sali, speaking on behalf of President Akufo-Addo, spoke of the unwavering commitment of the government to supporting educational institutions in the country.
St. Francis Xavier Junior Seminary has not been excluded from the government support framework through collaborative efforts between the Ministry of Education and the Regional Directorate of Education. We have ensured that these institutions receive the necessary resources, infrastructural improvement, and access to academic facilities. Additionally, initiatives such as teacher training programs and curriculum enhancement have been extended to further elevate the education standards. Beyond these esteemed institutions, the government's commitment to education spans the nation's senior high schools and technical and vocational training institutions. We aim to equip our youth with skills, knowledge, and competences needed to thrive in an ever evolving world.
Rector of the St. Francis Xavier Junior Seminary, Reverend Father Nader B. Martin, stated that the minor seminary was established in 1963 to raise up Christian gentlemen to serve the church and Marigana and beyond. Since its establishment, about 1,500 students have completed the seminary. The rest are now in the human force that are working in various fields of the country's development and beyond. Reverend Father Nader, however, rolled out some challenges that the junior seminarians are facing.
Teachers are on secondment to the school. All other staff, apart from the nurses, are paid by the management of the school. The school has 10 bungalows for the teaching staff, religious sisters, and some nurses on campus. Our staff strength stands at 22 as against 10 bungalows that the school has, and this number is woefully inadequate, and wherever we can get the support to continue to provide accommodation for our teaching and non-teaching staff will be very much welcome.
Paramount Chief of the Lower Traditional Area, Napo Cabo III, chaired the function.
It calls on stakeholders with introspection and deep reflection to marshal our efforts, hope to keep the light of excellence lit by the founding fathers burning and brighter. This glimmer of light of excellence lit by our forefathers has been kept bright all these 60 years by the steadfast dedication and commitment of the masters, students, and parents over the years.
Away from the NDC now to the PNC, because the General Secretary of the People's National Convention, Janet Nabla, says unless the country accepts that corruption permeates the entire Ghanaian society, the fight will not be won. Speaking to Joy News after a National Executive Committee meeting of the party, The PNC chief scribe argued that the pretense that only politicians are corrupt is the reason why corruption is still so endemic in the country.
Because politicians want to win power, they will lie about how they should fight corruption. To fight corruption, a political party, politicians are less than 1% of Ghana's population and cannot be the cause of corruption in Ghana. It is the Ghanaian who is corrupt. Ghanaians are corrupt. So for us to be able to eradicate corruption out of our fibers, then we have to be truthful. Our religious bodies are aware that their congregants are corrupt. You go into the mosque, they know that their members are corrupt. You go into schools, teachers are not teaching children how to morally, to hold moral values dear. They are not teaching those things. At the end of the day, the person grows up to become a corrupt person, and then is the Ghanaian that they pick as a minister who becomes corrupt, or as an MP and those things. So when you say the minister is corrupt, did the minister fall from the skies to become a corrupt person? No, he was first a Ghanaian. So for us to be able to eradicate corruption out of this Ghana, politicians who think that they can write on the by lying to these Ghanaians to be able to vote for them must be truthful. Any politician in election 2024 who will not call corruption, tag Ghanaian to corruption, and try to tag a particular group of people is not the man that Ghanaians should be voting for. We should have politicians who will come out to tell us that they will let our schools, our parents is even part of it. Because when you have a child and you don't teach the child about moral values, the child will grow up to end up being corrupt. So all these institutions are supposed to be strengthened. Our teachers must be encouraged to be able to teach children to abhor corruption.
Janice Nabla says the party remains resolute in its quest to capture political power in the 2024 elections, as the party believes it is the only political party with the capacity to break the duopoly of the NDC and the NPP.
We think that the PNC is the only political party in Ghana that can be able to bring out solutions for Ghanaians. If you look at the governance of Ghana, it has always been the NPP and the NDC. These are the two political parties that are in parliament. I've told people, and I'm saying it again, there is no way you can go and vote for NPP or NDC and say you want change. Because the two political parties now are those that are ruling this country. In fact, they are in parliament, they are in charge of our organizations, our institutions, they monitor everything. So if things are not working well, it is as a result of the NPP and the NDC. So it will pain me that a Ghanaian will think that maybe any of them is in opposition. They are not in opposition. The only political party that is in opposition is the People's National Convention. We are in opposition. Even in opposition, we come out with our policies so that Ghanaians can to help salvage this country. We have a lot of people who say that they don't want to bring their policies out so that others will steal them. If PNC, we did not bring the policy of national health insurance, will Ghanaians now be enjoying? If we say that we will keep quiet until we come to power, we won't come out with policies. Ministry of Women and Children Affairs, now Ministry of Gender. We wouldn't have been having that ministry. Zongo communities were those who first said we want to create Ministry of Women and Zongo communities. Now we have a Ministry of Zongo or something communities. And then we talk about Get Fund, we talk about school feeding and the rest. So the PNC is a political party that is not selfish. We are not selfish in our policies.
On to one of our headline stories, Speaker of Parliament Alban Gbagben says he will lock the doors to the Chamber of Parliament at 10 a.m. from next year because of late start of sittings due to lateness from MPs. Addressing members in Parliament, the Speaker argued that it is not right that he has to come and wait for MPs. Alban Gbagben says if MPs do not want him to enforce this new decision, then they must agree to start sittings at 2 p.m. or 4 p.m.
You can see that we're having challenges with early attendance. Now, if it is the pleasure of members to always start at 10, then we'll have to put additional measures in place. You all know that the chief doesn't go to sit to wait for his subjects. Nowhere in any parliament in the world would the speaker always go and sit and wait for members of parliament to come in. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. So please, from the first meeting of the fourth session of the fourth parliament, the eighth parliament of the Fourth Republic, at 10 a.m., which you say 10 in the phone, the doors will be locked. It will take some time before the doors are opened. Not that it won't be opened, but it will take some time. If we are not able to comply with it, then please, let's all agree that we will always start sitting in the afternoon, from 2 or 4. The committees will have the meetings in the morning. Reports will be ready for us to consider in the afternoon. And then, by the time we adjourn, either 8 p.m., the traffic situation might be improved. So the two caucuses, either you have joint caucuses meeting, or at your own level, you discuss these things and come back with proposals. If not, these are the measures that I want to put in place, which will take effect from next meeting.
More from Parliament, because MP for Kwabena, Sarah Adjwasafo, is urging Parliament to speedily pass the Affirmative Action Bill due to its major significance. The bill, which seeks to promote women's participation and remove the historical low representation of women in all policy-making spaces, has become a conditionality in Ghana's deal with the International Monetary Fund. The former gender minister says while Parliament must pass the bill expeditiously, it must do a thorough job so the law can stand the test of time.
I see here listed the Affirmative Action Bill, and on page 14 again is listed for consideration. This on page 10 it's for second reading, and on page 14 it's for consideration. Mr. Speaker, you would agree with me that the Affirmative Action Bill is a very important bill that has been coming in and out of this House. And I strongly believe that as women, we are very much interested in this bill. The issue I have with the listings on the business statement is the timing where we find these bills being considered. Budget statement has been presented by the Finance Minister. We are done with the debates and consideration of the policy, but we're going to go into committees and start discussing and dissecting the estimates. I am a bit worried that around the same time we have such an important bill. Mr. Speaker, I know you've been a strong advocate and a promoter of this bill as well. So I just want to draw the majority leader's attention to the fact that it's very important. We want to see it passed, but we want to see it go through the proper considerations with the numbers that we need in the House, so that at the end of the day, it will be a collective bill that has been considered and taken through the various stages of considerations in this House.
Away from Parliament, the Honorary Vice President of Imani Africa, Bry Simmons, has challenged the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Samuel Abu-Jinapor, to substantiate his claim that the 10% lithium royalties rate signed by Ghana is the best globally. Bry Simmons emphasized that there have been times in Ghana where Ghana's history when the government had more than 50% state participation, in contrast to the current 19% state participation in the agreement with Barari DV Ghana Limited.
The minister, makes claims that are just simply not true, and with all due respect, he makes claims that this is the best deal ever, and he suggests that the fiscal terms are the most generous, and that is debatable in the sense that if you think about the the dynamics that are confronting us, the fiscal terms that have been presented in the agreement that we are all aware of. Yes, the 10% seems high because in recent times we've been signing agreements that some argue have shortchanged us, and the 13% free carry interest is interesting. But the truth of the matter is that you take the whole historic span of our mining industry in this country, those terms are not that generous, because we can say that in the 70s, Ghana automatically had a 55% participation rate. You couldn't do mining in Ghana unless the state owned 55%. So are we comparing our current fiscal deal, yield on lithium to that era, or we are having an arbitrary period of, say, from 1990 onwards, or what are we doing? So in short, there have been periods in our country when we had way more. Whether or not that was a good thing, it's another debate, because the argument was that by the end of the 1980s, we declined from 33 gold mines to about 4 gold mines, because some argued that the state was too dominant and private investment was not coming in, so private technology, private management capacity, etc., had been shut out. That is a separate argument. But to argue that this is the best in terms of the generosity of the terms is just not true, because we have a history in this country where in the 70s, the Champagne government said 55% of all minerals belong to the state. How is your 13%, or even if you increase it to 19%, or even if you do go further to 29%, as the minister is saying might be the case, how does that compare?
He's urging Parliament to scrutinize the deal, describing the agreement as too simplistic, especially given the uncertainties in the demand for lithium.
Given the uncertainties, our strongest argument is that the government needs to approach this from a real options point of view. What that simply means is that instead of this very simple agreement that they've done, in some cases there's a benefit of simplicity. But in this case, we don't think so. We think there has to be more options in the agreement in some of the respects. We've talked already about royalty. When the operating margin changes, we think the royalty should be variable. We think even in the case of equity, the way that they should exercise the equity is not the way they've done it now, which is they've done it in a two-pronged manner. For the government, it's a fixed kind of thing, and we say in the future we may negotiate for more. For MIF, which is the Sovereign Wealth Fund, they've allowed them to use warrants, which is a kind of option. So what it means is that they have the right but not the obligation to buy more if the price improves. But there are other options that we can use, and why not use it for the state too? Because MIF, given the fact that they can, easily exit their position, given the fact that they are a sovereign wealth fund, as opposed to the state, where we are a lot more, the regimen is much more stricter. We are not too happy that the state is not using options, not using some of the warrants. So not just warrants to exercise when the strike price is at a certain level. We want warrants that do other things as well. And we think that the agreement is too simplistic, given the uncertainties in lithium. If you're doing gold, we wouldn't have a problem. But lithium, a lot of crazy things are going on. For one thing, there is a lot of aggressive push. There's a massive and aggressive push to look for alternatives to lithium-based batteries. Laboratories all over the world, some of them funded to the tune of billions of dollars, are experimenting with all manner of battery technologies. In a time may come when lithium-ion batteries are not the big deal in electric vehicles possible. We don't know that. There's a recycling boom where after you use the electric battery, remember that the batteries for NMC, for instance, just 4 years. After 4 years, the charging ratio drops to as low as 20%, and people just simply change it. So when you throw away the battery, nowadays people are recycling the lithium, and that boom is really increasing. A time may come when we are getting more lithium from the discarded batteries than we are mining afresh, and we don't know yet. All of those things, plus of course the thing that everybody's talking about, the massive crash in prices. Prices have dropped from a high of about $81,000 a ton for lithium carbonate and hydroxide to something like $16,500 this month. So that's a massive drop in value. So we don't really know what is happening with this lithium thing. That therefore requires that we're very careful in the way we structure the agreement to take into account the uncertainty.
And to some other stories, the Chief Executive Officer of the University of Ghana Medical Center, Dr. Kwame Enim-Boama, is urging young people to be mindful of their lifestyle choices. According to him, lifestyle choices such as drinking and smoking may lead to the damage of important organs like the liver and the kidney. His comment follows an increase in diabetes and hypertension cases among young people in the country. He spoke to Joy News at a benefit concert by the hospital to raise an amount of $50 million for the construction of clinical trials unit. More in this report.
According to the World Health Organization, non-communicable diseases kill 41 million people each year. That is 74% of all deaths globally. It is said each year 17 million people die from NCDs before the age of 70, while 86% of these premature deaths are estimated to occur in low and middle income countries. In Ghana, the situation is no different, with an increasing number of diabetes cases and hypertension recorded among young adults. CEO of the University of Ghana Medical Center, Dr. Kwabena Boama, is cautioning young people to be mindful of these lifestyle diseases.
Go for regular checkups. Whether you are sick or not, you need to visit the hospital. And these days, we are seeing hypertension and diabetes in younger age groups. So especially once you hit 20, 30 going, definitely after 40, every year you need to have your annual checkup done. And then if there is something that is detected, you take steps to correct. Aside the healthy lifestyle of stopping to smoke, reduce alcohol intake, reduce salt intake. You shouldn't say that that's why you like salt, so when they finish cooking you add salt. So no other salt, okay? And then let's be ambulant, keep our weights down, do some exercises, and live a stress-free life. Enjoy yourself. Don't covet what is not yours.
Dr. Boama believes government should enroll the treatment of renal dialysis patients onto the National Health Insurance Scheme.
But in terms of the National Health Insurance, if they are able to cover for the dialysis, then that would be very good. And so we all need to find a way of funding it and to help patients who suffer from this to really benefit. And the end point really of dialysis is also to have renal or kidney transplant. So again, at UGMC, we are trying to improve, or we've started doing renal transplant. So we are hoping that eventually we should become a center of excellence with that and be able to do more, so that patients who have renal diseases end stage will not just be on dialysis, but they'll be on dialysis with the hope that they're going to have renal or kidney transplant.
The University of Ghana Medical Center was opened in 2017. The facility is an ultra-modern 1,000-bed medical center offering world-class health services, medical training and research. The benefit concert organized by the hospital as part of its 5th anniversary is to raise an amount of $50 million to put up an ultra-modern clinic trials unit for the hospital. Board member of UGMC set a J-bar called on Ghanaians to support the initiative.
There's a need for us to recognize we have something good here. Secondly, what we have here, we can also contribute to make it better. We need other equipment and other machinery that we might not have, but we cannot put all the burden on government. We think as individuals we should be able to help. People are able to travel from here to India, South Africa and other places, spending millions or thousands of dollars. But you can contribute 1,000 cities, 100 cities, 500 cities, and that will give us what we need for us to be able to satisfy people and give them the treatment they want in Ghana here. We know we have the doctors, well trained, but we need the equipment to be able to do it. So we all need to contribute. Every pestua is needed, and as we contribute, we are developing our own future and protecting our own future.
The evening saw performances from top gospel musicians and groups, including Joe Metal, Koda, Neokai, and several others. Prince Kwame Kudoge's report for Joy News.
In a related development, though Ghana's National Health Insurance Scheme is aimed at securing universal access to health care and ease burden of out-of-pocket medical expenses, many less privileged people are unable to access health care due to inability to register onto the scheme or expired insurance. As 2023 comes to a close, there is the need for many to renew their access to the scheme. To lessen their burden, Morgan's Miracles and Simpson Boateng Foundation have renewed expired insurance cover and registered over 150 people as part of this year's December to Remember conference. Here is more from Adobiasari.
The implementation of the National Health Insurance Scheme in Ghana is geared towards ensuring equal access to healthcare services for all citizens. The NHIS strives to provide financial risk protection, diminishing the economic barriers preventing individuals from accessing essential medical care by lessening the burden of out-of-pocket expenses. As the year draws to a close, many less privileged individuals find their NHIS coverage expired, while others are yet to enroll on the scheme. During the annual December to Remember conference organized by Prophet Samson Amoako, vulnerable individuals had their expired NHIS cards renewed, and new registrations, including children, were facilitated. Beneficiaries hailed from the Greater Accra, Volta, Eastern and Northern regions. This charitable initiative was sponsored by Morgan's Miracle and the Samson Amoako Foundation, both dedicated to bringing comprehensive healthcare, education and wellness globally. The arms of these foundations have extended aid to beneficiaries across Africa, America and South Asia. Cheryl Hill of Morgan's Miracles explained the motivation behind the act of kindness.
Well, I had a school project and I was about 12 years old, and I've always been the type to help and, be the one to help people that in need. So my name is Morgan, obviously. I am the CEO of Morgan's Miracles, and I said I wanted to name it Morgan's Miracles because you know how God showed miracles to people when they helped. So we are here to help, and I am Morgan, so that's where we came up with the name Morgan's Miracles.
When questioned about the potential fatigue and financial strain associated with such acts, Cheryl Hill said,
We're a little tired, but again, because Ghana means so much to us, we prayed and just said, God, give us the strength, so yeah, we're committed. And I believe when it's God's work, that he'll give you what you need to keep doing what you need to do.
Over 150 individuals benefited from this year's initiative. Some beneficiaries, when interviewed by the press, expressed gratitude for the positive impact the program have had on their lives.
I'm here to renew my NHIS card, that's the National Health Insurance card. And then I've been here not quite long though, but I've benefited because I've been able to renew my card. Because anytime I go to the hospital, it'll be like, have you renewed your card? So if I haven't renewed, meaning I have to pay. So I think it's a good thing for this thing to come out.
I'm here because I heard the prophet on radio when he was talking about, he was preaching. After the preaching, he told us that today we'll be having a health care program at the church, which is renewal of health insurance, and those who don't have it and those who have lost theirs, they will do everything for everybody, whether you renew or you are coming for the fresh one. He did it for us free. He didn't collect anything from us.
Morgan Hill, CEO of Morgan's Miracles, reflected on the intended impact and the future plans for both the Samson Amoako Foundation and Morgan's Miracles.
So in 5 years from now, we mentioned that we would love to have our own school to provide and help for the children in need, also providing housing and transportation as well. So we look forward to that. We know what will happen. In Jesus' name.
Over the course of this year's 5 days December to Remember conference at the House of Miracles Ministries, 500 packs of cooked food will be shared, 100 each day. Hundreds will also go home with uncooked rice and bottles of cooking oil. Persons with disability will receive undisclosed amounts to help with their upkeep.
Now, the National Health Insurance Authorities are appealing to the various service providers to desist from charging their clients when the services rendered are covered under the NHIS Central. Now, the Central Regional Director of the authority, Fred Appiah, explains the practice is eroding the confidence of their clients in the system and threatens the progress being made. Mr. Frederick Appiah was engaging the media as part of the NHIA's 20th anniversary celebration. There is more in this report.
This call for attention to adolescent health comes as part of the Adolescent Health Advocacy Week, during which health professionals focus on various aspects of adolescent well-being.
We sincerely apologize for that. We are taking a breather. We'll be right back with more. Please stay. Hello, welcome back to Joy Newsroom. The Ghana Health Service is calling for the prioritization of the health and well-being of adolescent girls. Speaking at this year's Adolescent Health Advocacy Week in Cape Coast, Central Regional Director of Health Services, Dr. Marion Oko explained that the adolescent stage of girls represents a critical phase of their lives that could make or break them in future. Dr. Owusu says it is important to increase interventions in these areas to ensure the healthy development of the adolescent girl, which would help them reach their full potential.
This call for attention to adolescent health comes as part of the Adolescent Health Advocacy Week, during which health professionals focus on various aspects of adolescent well-being. Key areas include reproductive health, nutrition and mental health, all of which are crucial for the holistic development of adolescents. Central Regional Director of Health, Dr. Marion Owusu says the initiative aims at prioritizing access to health services for adolescents, addressing both financial considerations and quality of care provided.
Wherever we are, let's make the time for our adolescents. They need to hear from us. They see us and they want to be like us. But most of them are ill-informed because of peer pressure and other myths they hear from the communities, from social media, including the television, their mobile phones that they use to access other social media platforms. And so we should make the time for them, to talk to them about the issues that bother them. And when they also approach us with their issues, this week has been set aside to give an extra attention to adolescent health issues. And this includes their reproductive health, their nutrition issues, their mental health, to mention a few. So for the central region, with our data analysis, you can see clearly that there's an improvement in the trend of access to products, family planning products by adolescents. That is adolescents that are due the age. Some of the adolescents are 18 years and 19 years, and then they can access the products because of the age brackets.
Dr. Marion Owusu is urging the public to support these efforts and collectively contribute to nurturing a generation of healthy and empowered adolescent girls. She says encouraging the enrollment of adolescents on the National Health Insurance Scheme is a key step in ensuring comprehensive health coverage.
When we talk about access, it's not just walking to the facility, but also financial access. And so the enrollment of adolescents on the National Health Insurance is a priority for us as a health service in schools. So for the school enrollment, we ensure that once you receive your admission to come to school, you should make sure that your NHIS card is valid, so that when you fall sick, you can use a valid card to access free health care for yourself. In terms of the availability of the service itself, the school clinics are now functional, and the health services has assigned school nurses to support in the provision of services for the schools. And the schools have also been linked up to some of the hospitals, so that when they have severe emergencies, they can refer them to the bigger hospitals.
Program specialist of the Adolescent and Youth Development of the UFPA, Affiryie Acquah, called for a huge investment in adolescent health.
Because adolescent health is part of the general population, it is normally integrated as mainstream population. But what we need to understand is we need to make a conscious effort to invest in young people's health, adolescents and youth. Because when we invest in their health now, we will begin to see the benefits in years to come. All the health issues we are addressing, the teenage pregnancy, all the gender-based violence, STIs, diabetes, anything that has to do with health. When we invest in young people now, we will find out that in years to come, the government does not need to put so much money into curing ailments and investing in the health sector.
The theme for this year's event is Every Adolescent Counts, Accessible Healthcare for All.
Away from that, the Northern Electricity Distribution Company, NEDCO, has reconnected power supply to Akufo-Addo after the community experienced 2 weeks of total blackout after some unidentified members of the community tampered with a transformer in the area. Techiman Area Manager for NEDCO, John Tayari, who was speaking at a meeting with opinion leaders from the community, admonished power users to desist from tampering with faulty power lines to save lives and properties. Anas Sabit filed this report.
The Akruma community in the Kintampo South district were taken off the national grid after some unidentified members of the community embarked on activities that are capable of damaging NEDCO's transformers and transmission lines. Tishman area manager for the Northern Electricity Distribution Company, John Tyree, says the activities of the people, beyond causing damage to the transmission lines, also pose as a danger to the lives of the people of the community.
We got a complaint that there was a light off in Akruma Krum. Our team put themselves together to get to Akruma Krum, only to realize that they had gotten an electrician to fuse the transformer back. And the transformer fuses, they use cable to just tie them in a manner that it will be difficult for them to blow in case of any eventuality. So we detected that that was dangerous to the health of the transformer and then even for the people of the community.
NEDCO's decision to disconnect power to the community is to, amongst other things, make the community provide the persons involved as well as prevent future occurrences. Mr. John Tyree admonished the people to avoid tampering with transmission lines and report to NEDCO for immediate actions to be taken.
We took away the fuses and asked that the community should get the person who fused the transformer before we could restore supply. So the fact that the fuse is gone off doesn't mean you should just go and fuse it back. So when they go off, communities should have the patience, get back to us and let us do our work and do it professionally. That is safer.
The people of the community, through the district chief executive, reported to the PURC, whose intervention called for a meeting between NEDCO and the opinion leaders of the community. District Chief Executive for Kintampo South, Opokunyame, promised to engage the people of the district on the hazards associated with tampering with transmission lines of NEDCO.
We learn from our mistakes. So what has happened, we must take a clue from it. We must learn some lesson from what has happened at Akruma. So I'll add it to my message. Whenever I engage the communities, I will just advise them on this particular issue, how they should protect their properties, especially when it comes to power outages, when the power goes off.
Regional Manager of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, Patrick Entry, whose mediation called for a meeting between NEDCO and the community, says there is a need for an intensive education on the consequences of such actions that lead to damaging properties belonging to utility companies.
I think education and community engagement must be stepped up a bit. It must be intensified. I think with the assumption that people know what they are supposed to do with regards to electricity and power, we might get it wrong. So we need to engage the community a lot. We need to engage community leaders, of course, on the consequence of some of these actions. So I think that there's more room for improvement. We shall always make sure that our major stakeholders also are engaged at every point in time to make sure that some of these issues become a thing of the past.
The community, after signing a bond of good behavior, promised to abide by the content of the bond and prompt NEDCO whenever they have issues with their electricity lines. Anas Sabit, Joy News, Tichima.
To some business story, the Director of Crop Services at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Solomon Janansa, is advising the public to venture into home gardening to contribute to food production. According to him, this would help reduce reliance on industrial agriculture. He was speaking at the launch of the Home Gardening Initiative by Solidaridad Ghana. The Home Gardening Initiative by Solidaridad Ghana is designed to address critical issues related to food security and nutrition. The launch of the initiative was themed, working together to grow safe and nutritious foods. Director of Crop Services at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Solomon Jan Ansa, said investing in home gardening could help reduce reliance on industrial farming.
So long as the Ghanaian population is expected to increase over the years, there will be a continuous need to increase food production and buffer stocks to meet the growing demand and efficiently cope with volatilities in food production and prices. There is a need to pay attention towards home gardens as a strategy to also enhance household food security and nutrition and to avert famine. It provides families with access to fresh, nutritious produce, reducing their reliance on expensive and often unhealthy processed foods. By growing your own food, individuals and communities reduce their reliance on industrial agriculture and often comes with a heavy environmental footprint.
Country Director of Solidaridad Ghana, Bosman Owusu, explains the initiative and its intended impact.
Home Gardening Initiative is to encourage as many urban households as possible to grow their own vegetables. And the reason is simple. Growing your own vegetables ensures that you produce it to the best of hygienic standards. So you use good quality water to water it, and you guarantee that whatever you are eating is safe. And it also helps you to apply organic manure to support the growth of the vegetables. And what that also means is that you avoid consuming pesticides of high doses, which could also affect your health. Now, apart from these values or benefits from growing your own vegetables, we also know that there are many who grow and actually receive some cash support from that. So they may grow more, and we have people who are willing to buy your excess vegetables.
The public was also advised to adopt good agricultural practices to reduce losses. Ecobank Ghana PLC says it will expand its investment for businesses across the country and beyond. The bank maintained that it remains committed to cushion the operations of these businesses to contribute to the economic growth and national development. Acting Managing Director Joanna Mensah said the bank will embark on various transformational agenda for businesses in 2024. She was speaking at the Ecobank Chinese Forum.
The forum facilitated the trading and investment activities of the bank's key customers and the public, and also provided opportunity for policymakers and key agents for a genuine and informed debate that sought to discover new ways of improving trade between the bank and Chinese business. Joanna Mensah called for more collaboration.
By surmounting the challenges of language and cultural barriers, this initiative was fostered across other Ecobank affiliates in various African countries, such as Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Liberia, Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Sierra Leone, Cape Verde, Guinea, Chad, amongst others. And indeed, we'll be very glad to also hold a forum including all of these countries so that we can further collaborate and develop business amongst Chinese partners in these other countries. Ecobank's steadfast support to Chinese business community holds paramount importance. We have financed major projects such as Judiciary Service 34-room court complex, the Pokwasi project, Tema Harbour expansion, N1 Road, Pong Community 26, affordable housing, Makola Shopping Mall, amongst others.
President of the Ghana-China Chamber of Commerce, Tang Hong, said the Chinese businesses will continue to be heavy in investment for technology.
New trends in business help companies reduce expenses experienced in traditional business and therefore attract many more customers. There are various emerging trends, but I would like to dive into the role of emerging technology in fostering economic growth. We can see how quickly and effectively technology has opened the door
And that's it for Joy Newsroom. I am Pious Kojo Backah. For more stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com. Always a joy serving you. The law is next with Samson Ladi Anyanini. Do enjoy.